Good day, everybody, and welcome to ESW. Luckily, we are enacting Article 17-252, which is going to allow us to speak on the Senate floor. Let's get into Andor, episodes 7 through 9. Not a shot. I was updating any assets over this past week. Welcome back to Extra Star Wars. Sean here, back again with Mateo and Damien, and we're excited to bring you probably the heaviest 3 episodes we've seen in a long time. It was insane. Mike, how are you feeling after these episodes, and how are you doing?
I remember last week watching episodes 4 through 6, and it was just a lot of very contextual. You had to stay awake, pay attention to what was going on, and I found myself dozing off, trying to watch all 3 back to back on Tuesday. That was not the case with these 3. 7 through 9, that was not the case. I was wide awake for all 3 episodes because it was just that tense the entire time.
100% agree. Dame?
Yeah, I mean, after episode 8, I had to just kind of walk away for a little bit and just kind of process what we just watched. And it was wild. I mean, just like you said, Mike, the first 3, I was like, okay, cool. Getting back into the world. Second 3, I'm like, all right, it's a little bit better. And then these 3, I don't know where they go from here tomorrow. I mean, they're probably going to put a nice little bow on it, of course. But I mean, it was just, it reminded me of watching the Red Wedding, or when they blow up the Red Keep in Game of Thrones. My anxiety was just off the charts. And it was just so much tension. And God, they're just knocking the show out of the park. It's amazing.
100%. I remember telling you guys we have a little private chat that we chit chat on the Instagrams, and I was like, all right, we're going to do the same strategy. I'm looking at the times. We're going to go, 7, 8, 9 over the 3 days. We're going to really enjoy it. And then I was up till 1:45 in the morning, and I locked in after the first episode, and I just went, looks like I'm finishing all of it right now. And like you said, Mike, locked in, full attention, no moment wasted. A few snack breaks, got to do it, right? Got to chew on something, got to distract the brain a little bit. But I was fully invested in what was happening on screen. I can't say that it's hard to relate to genocide. It's a super interesting. Well, it's not interesting at all. It's awful, but it's not something that we have firsthand. We don't deal with the genocide sort of thing. I still find the sexual assault to be a little bit more effective on my brain for whatever reason. And the genocide is sort of wow, this is so crazy that they're just killing everybody. But it's not that far-fetched in my head. So I don't know, for whatever reason, I didn't fully, I don't want to say not appreciate it, but it didn't really affect me. Episode 8 was, everybody's all over episode 8 and saying how great it was. And it was great. But I actually have opinions on how episode 9 is better, in my, for me. And we'll get into that all square away and all that good stuff. So that sort of covers our little HoloNet headlines of the Andor 7 through 9 series. Arguably the best series of episodes labeled 7 through 9 in Star Wars history, one could say. A lot of Twitter, before we get into our little sound the alarm tops, a lot of Twitter people going, you can like Andor and not shit on the other stuff in Star Wars land. Shut up. Yes, we can.
Yeah, we can.
It's an easy comparison.
Yep.
I still love The Force Awakens. I love it as a reintroduction to the story. The Last Jedi, as I made a comment recently that basically was production was great. Story was not. Sounds a lot like The Acolyte. That's fine. Episode 9 was like, I don't know, taking a nap, but not really getting rest. Yeah, it was fine. It was okay, but it was, it's fun. It's going to a pool, but the water's warm because of pee. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. But these, I mean, talk about anticipation, prediction, unexpectedness, all the emotions wrapped into one. 7 through 9, something that is just such a pleasure to watch, as everybody's mentioned. Well, let's get right into it. I know we have a lot to go through. I did my notes a little differently. I was telling Mike a little earlier in our little pre-production as we were waiting on Damien. He was like doing his makeup, and apparently he was reciting the national anthem of Gorman, of Palmo or something like that, and I made very particular notes, and it made my notes longer, but I'll be able to sequence a lot of things out, so I'm looking forward to it. But without further ado, let's get right into our tops. An unbelievable amount of top moments for me, but I gotta say, leading off, Phillies have had a lot of different leadoff hitters this year, and shout out to Rob Thompson for making that happen. Big on topper. I audibly celebrated the opening on Yavin with heavy enthusiasm. Not that I wasn't expecting it, but like as soon as like the trill of the, it was like what did they say? It was in something like bright music sounder or something like that in the closed captioning. I was like, oh, it's fucking Yavin. Here we go. And it was. And like we didn't need any scene of like Andor going, I know a place in the forest that has giant pyramids from the Aztecs. No, we were just, that is the place. And it's so familiar. And now as soon as I was like, it's Yavin, and now I'm locking in. I'm magnifying glass and stuff. And I'm looking. Like, I want to see what we can see about Yavin. And it's just, it elicits so many good memories. I don't know if you know this. One of my opening freshman projects in high school was writing a paper on Star Wars. And I watched it on the box TV, if you remember the projection style TVs, on VHS, and rewinding it, and then, playing it, and then like analyzing it, and then writing, and then doing that over and over. And just, again, Yavin, boom, boom, like what is about Yavin? And that was, for me, a super duper special moment. Because, we're 1 year ahead, and now we're getting close. We are getting close to our conclusion, which really just, it brings the story to the close, but it also is the reason why the story opened in the first place, which is A New Hope. So for me, opening on Yavin is a huge top to talk about. I beam it to Damien.
Caught it. Yeah, for me, one of my tops was just Cyril in general.
Oh.
I mean, I it's like selfishly, I was like, oh, maybe he'll like defect and he'll have this big, great redemption. And
he was so ready.
I was ready for it. I was ready to hit the button and send that. But
and they teased it hard.
Oh man, I'm telling you,
dude. They just nailed his character though, and I just like his whole entire arc of. He's dedicated his whole entire life for this cause. It's what he lives and breathes, and to just be completely lied to. And like the parallel of him with the KX units, like he was a robot. He was following orders. He wasn't, questioning anything, just kind of going about his way. And then for him to finally, catch that ghost that he's been chasing Andor all this time, and for him to not even know who he was. And he's just like, you just saw the final moment of his life. He was just completely defeated and then was physically defeated. But yeah, just his story in general. The aggression with Dedra was a little uncomfortable to watch, but he was just 100%. Going off the rails. And then him just being out there amongst the Gormans and just like almost like being shell shocked with just what's going on around him. all this, I mean, God, it had to be the span of like 10 minutes from him learning about this stuff to the interaction with Dedra to being out amongst the people to fighting Andor, then to dying. Like, what a wild, like, just 10 minutes, last 10 minutes of his life. And then poor Edie, she's going to be eating a couple pints of Edie's to mourn her son.
Yep.
So just such a well-written character, and that could go for everybody in this show. Like, Thunderbolts came out, character driven, really good. Andor, character driven, really good. And I hope like Sean Levy and all those guys, you know, that are going to be moving forward with Star Wars. Like, Sean Levy's got a pretty good track record, but just the character driven stuff just hits home for me so much more. And even a character like Cyril, who you're not really supposed to root for, you kind of sympathize a tiny bit with him, especially in his final moments, and you kind of feel a little bad for him. But that was one of my tops, just that whole end of his story arc.
Man. So some comments on that is like, all right, if you remember the Cyril's first like interaction is like, hey, these guys were murdered. Like, we've got to figure it out. And the guy was like, we're really just going to wipe it under the rug. Like, let's not do anything about it. The guy he just wants justice to happen.
Yeah.
That's all he wants. He believes in the system, and he just wants the system to work. And when he's walking through that crowd, and again, you've made me go down to episode 9, you son of a, or episode 8, you son of a gun.
We're all over the place. Come on.
I know, we're all, exactly. And that's fine. And welcome to Nicole. Cyril is having such a moment of reflection amidst the chaos. Like, it's loud, right? There's chanting going on, but every time Cyril's on the scene, it's like it quiets down.
Mm-hmm.
He's sort of just like looking around going, the Empire was the outside agitators, right? And you can see him, you can actually see him calculating and putting it all together and going, it was me. Like, I was part of this, right? And then like we reverse course a little bit, and you go, you know, to the scene of Dedra, and listen, I feel that at points in my life, I've gotten to Cyril type of rage. Like, there's a dent in my refrigerator side. You know what I mean? That was a punch. But the unhinged, he was unhinged.
Yep.
And he literally says, if you tell me it's a rumor, I'm going to throw you out this window. And like, but like, he's got a point. He's been lied to for 2 years plus. And he you know, he thinks that he's doing, he thinks he's on the right side of history. And Dedra, by the way, not really sure if she believes in what they're doing anymore, but like, she's trying to stand pat. But as you can tell, we'll probably have a good prediction coming along for Dedra later on. But it reminded me of, I remember when Dedra was like, you know, we're going to be lauded as heroes. I was like curious, so I threw on Rogue One Sunday morning as for Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, everybody. Mama was sleeping in, so I threw on Rogue One, and I was like, let me see what Easter eggs I can pull from this movie before the final 3. And I remember Krennic was like, you know, we'll be prisoners. And he'll say, no, you're heroes of the Empire. And, you know, that's all perspective in what you decide is a hero. And, you know, and just Cyril realizing, he's like, he comes out into the square, you know, and he like jumps the thing, and he's like listening into the fake news happening. And he's like, that's not what's happening here. You know, like, I know what's happening. And it's driving him crazy. His interaction with Rylands, who is like, again, it's your fault that this is happening. It's your feeding, you know, and even Enza's in on it. And like, again, I'm going in reverse, but from the interaction with Enza to Rylands to the Dedra, you know, everything's boiling. And this is the smallest part of episode 8.
Yeah, for sure.
We could even talk about. And I agree with you. Cyril fell into my top column over and over and over again. And then the whole, who are you? Like that completely devastated him. I think that was the worst breakup of the episode.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It was Dedra, and then it was the who are you? And Andor, like, you're just another guy on Tuesday, brother. I don't know what to tell you.
Speaking of, I don't know if do you know the terrible Street Fighter movie that Raul Julia acted his ass off in
In the 90s, from the 90s?
Oh, from the 90s, yeah.
Yeah.
Jean-Claude Van Damme,
Yep.
Raul Julia, Ming Fennec is in it. She's Chun-Li.
Don't ask me any of these questions, man. This is I might remove myself from this
I'm
conversation.
gonna have to do a little research on it, but
So-
that is wild.
There's this one scene in that movie where Chun-Li talks about Bison, Raul Julia's character, coming into town and murdering everyone. And Bison just goes, "This was the moment that changed your life. For me, it was Tuesday." The "Who
Oh,
are you?"
Love it.
gave that. It just gave that vibe to me. I was just like, this is a better version of Street Fighter. And for me, it was Tuesday. But to lead into one of my tops, good old fashioned fist fight in
Ooh.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Oof.
No lightsabers, no force powers being used, just a good bar fight. And that I feel like I wish it would have ended with someone else other than Rylance killing Cyril.
It was
Feel like
poetry. Poetry.
yeah, there's poetry to it, but I just enjoyed a good bar fight where there's no real upper hand. There's the gun on the floor that they're all trying to get to, and they're just beating the snot out of each other.
And
It
Cyril
was
can throw down
It was so
too, man.
raw. It was good.
Cyril had some moves in him. I was surprised. Like, you wouldn't think he'd be the type to hold his own, you know, especially against someone like Cassian. But yeah, it was pretty fun to see.
Well, when you only have 60 minutes with Dedra, you probably are a good fighter. You know, for if you got some good good things going.
You got
that was
50, 57 more minutes to work on your fighting.
Yeah.
Excellent fight. Obviously we know Andor's going to survive it. But there was a point where I was like, well, he's got him. You know, he's got him with his own gun. And just the look of Cyril and the wonderful screen grab you sent us, Damien, over Instagram of the moments before
disaster.
as Cyril gets got. And honestly,
Brutal.
a sad ending.
Yeah.
I mean, Cyril probably would have been a great asset for the rebellion.
For sure.
You know, and certainly adrenaline pumping through his veins, and just betrayal and evilness, but misplaced evilness for our good boy Cyril.
And just the letdown of like, I've made it my life's work to hunt you down. And even the foreshadowing of that scene where they walk right past each other.
I wrote that down.
Close call. Yep. Oh.
And Andor has no idea who this person is at all.
Oh my God, you're so
and just
right.
like, he made it his entire life's mission to bring Andor to justice for killing the two cops. And then he's just like, who are you?
Yeah. No. Rip Cyril, great character. From bottom. I mean, if you're talking about full, complete character arc, you start off not really liking him, and you end up missing him. And that is a nice tie-in to any sort of character. When you can go, we don't really know. Cinta is sad, but not enough Cinta on screen for us to really care. A lot of time spent with Cyril. Okay, a lot of time spent with Cyril, for sure. Mike, did you bring up a new top?
But one of my tops was the good old-fashioned bar fight.
Oh, that's right. One of the things that I really enjoyed, and again, Andor is a dark show. Andor, a fist fight. Thinking of fist fights. Thinking of human character, alien character, whatever. They've never really spent a lot of time in the mystics, and the skepticism that I have for, if I describe this, let's see if you can guess what I'm saying. People gathering in a crowd, everybody's chanting the same. There's
Eagles games?
Yeah, there's moments of silence, song, and affirmation to a deity. That's right. That's Easter Sunday, right? Easter Sunday Mass. So I look at the Catholic, teachings. I grew up Catholic, but I also have, my moral compass is shaped by the Catholic Church. But I don't, I subscribe. No one can subscribe to this but me, unless you want to. I don't need to go to church to prove my worth, So for me, when I look at the people chanting and I go, wow, you're not too far away from Scientology if we really want to like throw darts at people. But the mystics in Andor is not present until all of a sudden it is on Yavin. And we have in my opinion, a great moment of force sensitivity. And we have the future Mon Mothma haircut lady, gypsy lady, coming and like seemingly recognizes a presence that I haven't felt in quite a long time. And you have to think about it, right? Force sensitivity and Jedi, non-existent, right? Doesn't exist. Vader is a myth. He's a legend, right? You don't really know. It's sort of like the genocide topic. You don't really know what Darth Vader's like until it's probably too late and you're dead. So no one really gets the Force. And I mean, what is she doing? She's doing Reiki. Reiki's a weird sort of therapeutic, touchy, not touchy sort of healing thing. And that was actually the first thing I thought. I was like, oh, this is very Reiki-like. A lady came to Gwynedd, where I went to college, and did Reiki as part of like exams week, which I thought was cool. I was like, let me feel what's going on here. She also asks, who are you? So there is like a theme of who are you sewn throughout these episodes. And the context is way different of who's asking at this time. And she says thank you, right, to Andor for no reason. And she's just like, yeah, clarity. Like, you totally, you're without saying it, you're doing something. And it's going to be good. And like, if you subscribe to that sort of stuff, Andor really gave me Han Solo vibes, right? With what he was sort of, how he was reacting. Like, did you put her up to this? And Bix is like, no. I've got reason to believe that Bix is a little Force sensitive. The way she was talking, the way she was sort of interacting and sort of believing. And again, that could just be a faith thing there. Lot of foreshadowing to Scarif. Like, hey, you're a messenger. You're gathering all these experiences. You have strength of spirit. It was like the Triforce of Courage with Zelda. There's some place he needs to be. I can't place it, but, there's that tipping point where, Andor is still very much, I would say, 1 foot in, 1 foot out on the rebellion. I can leave whenever I want. That was the vibe I was getting from him. All I got to do is say we're gone and we're out of here. If I say I'm done, Luthen's going to know what I'm talking about. I think this starts to push him, plus I'm sure we'll talk Bix later, into the direction of full in the rebellion until the end. Until the end. Did his shoulder heal? I don't know. That's perspective. You might feel better because you believe you feel better. Yep. I did feel that shoulder stretch, though. Did anybody else feel that shoulder stretch when he was doing his thing? Like, oh man, I know exactly. I mean, I've never been shot with a laser blaster, but I
My
definitely have
just crack. All the time.
woken up with a bad scalpia, or scapula. For what it is. But yeah, so for me, the Force sensitivity and like bringing in that mystical, that it's kind of believable sort of idea is like really cool for me in such a dark show.
Yeah.
Like people have to put their faith in something, and this is a sort of interesting way of doing it. Pass it on to Jedi Mateo.
I understand how important that scene in the Force Healer was. Wasn't a fan. I understand the foreshadow. I understand everything about and how huge it was for the you're a messenger and how big of a deal the Force Healer was. I was not a fan of seeing a Force Healer though. Just because the show has not had any sort of Force powers, Force sensitivity in it. And my whole thing was like, wow, they're not using anything with the Force to drag away from the storyline. And I was like, 3 episodes left, and they're bringing in a Force healer. Nah. So it's not necessarily like a bottom. Like I was just like annoyed by it, not necessarily with just like a little like, even like any of my bottoms, I'm just like, they're just nitpicky at this point. I understand its importance. I do think it is an important part of that, of the storyline and foreshadowing, but would just have rather not to seen any Force sensitivity.
I totally can agree with that. I can also subscribe to everybody's gathering at Yavin. I mean, even Willman's like, we see new faces every day. Like, who are these people? Can we trust them? Who are you? Right? Again, theme right from the beginning, and I think it's believable. I see it as sort of this is a gathering, and the Church of the Force, which really was introduced in Episode 7. I believe there's probably factions out there that subscribe to the Force, even though there's no Force users out there. So, for me, believable that somebody out there would exist, especially if we have Babu Frick. But I hear what you're saying. I'm with you. Dame, any thoughts on Force healing?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it was put in there to kind of just show that that's still prevalent in this world. Obviously, it's all the same galaxy, but I didn't mind it, because if it means, and we don't know yet, if that Bix could be alive and out there somewhere, and this was the driving force to get her to make that move to set Cassian on that path, I like that, versus something where Bix dies and then Cassian decides, I'm going to do this. Just having like that greater calling, that higher purpose. I really liked it. The conversation and everything else. So I didn't mind it. I thought it was fine, especially because, we've been thinking all of these characters, or most at least, that we don't see in Episode 7, in Rogue One, are toast. So if it means, because of this interaction, Bix survives, then I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, and since you've brought up Bix, she really has been shelved. She plays no role other than Andor's anchor.
Yeah,
right?
She's clean now, though, from what we know.
That's what it feels like for me. Yeah, and like she's got that motherly affection. She certainly subscribes to the love aspect of things. And I tell you, on second watch, did not take me much, but when the anticipation, I'm like, oh, this speech is coming up next. I was like teary-eyed, waiting for it to arrive. And the whole, I'm choosing a rebellion. Like, this is the moment. You said that you want to make your own decisions, so I'm gonna make it for you, right? And I think I think Andor, in Rogue One, when they're escaping Jeddah, right, and the mantle of the moon is tidal waving, he goes to K2 and he's like, punch it. And he's like, I haven't calculated the route yet. And he goes, I'll make it for you, right? And boom, I'm going to make So I'm seeing parallels because I watched Rogue One and then I've rewatched 7, 8, 9. And for me, I like seeing those little parallels there. But yeah, just, I'm happy to see we're totally getting a post-credit scene with Bix, right? Post Rogue One. We have to. Like, how could you not? There has to be something going on there where she gets back. By the way, B2 Emo, shelved. Who knows when he's going to come back? Maybe him and Chopper will be like a thing. But, man, even visiting like Andor's grave on Yavin, something like that has to go down. Again, heroes of the rebellion in so many ways. That's really great stuff. New topic?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, fire away.
I go, you go.
Who goes first? I go first? You go first?
I go first?
You, me.
I just can't hear you with the mask. Love that. I do love that scene with Poe Dameron. It's awesome. All right, Mike, go ahead.
I enjoyed seeing the behind-the-scenes ruthlessness of the Empire.
Holy moly.
Like,
Ooh, baby.
I wrote so many times, and similar to One Way Out, I wanted Marissa to watch episode 8 with me. I was like, you gotta watch it. It's fantastic. And out loud, I said probably 6 or 7 times that, like, this is too close to home.
Yeah.
And it was like, how long ago was this season written?
Oh, it's got to be 2 years plus.
But like we're going to send out this green battalion into the middle of this crowd. We're going to shoot our own guy.
Yeah.
To start to and make it look like the Gormans started this. We are going to all our fallen soldiers. Well, first we're going to trap all the Gorman in this plaza.
Imperial martyrs, you mean?
Yeah, all the Imperial martyrs. We are going to control the media and push what we want to push. We are going to arrest anyone in the Senate that has any other opinion other than ours. The monster that screams the loudest is Palpatine. Like, everything was just way too close to home.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like in most Star Wars, any Star Wars media, you just know that they're bad. You know they're the bad guys. You might get a glimpse here or there. You got the full peek behind the curtain with these 3 episodes.
Yeah, and even to like the mini FaceTime calls between Partagaz and Dedra, and she's just like, yeah, we're proceeding with the plan, like what we've talked about. And the whole idea that we're occupying Gorman in this 2 to 3 year time span to document Gorman aggression so we can justify military takeover so we can extract something without it being illegal.
Yeah. It's
so hard to like fathom that. I was like shaking my head going, this is insane. This is insane. You know, Rylands is literally seeing it, and he pulls the old Admiral Akbar. It's a trap. This is a trap right now. Everybody's walking into this trap. And I think he also said, you know, we'll be silent when we're dead, or somebody said that to Rylands. We'll be silent when we're dead, or he says that. The rallying horns, you know,
it gave Rick's Road feel to it when they started getting the horns going and walking toward and singing the little national anthem.
I mean, rebellions are very similar, right? In terms of how it happens. And I wouldn't even say they were rebellion. I would say one would say that was a peaceful protest. Yeah. You know, it was fine. It was chanty and it was national anthem-y until it wasn't.
But they did have their Molotov cocktails ready.
They were ready. The rocks, they were breaking up rocks and stuff like that. And, you know, again, the whole idea of putting out inexperienced, eager greenies out there, certainly, you know, Kaido, what was his name? Yeah, he knew what he was doing.
Kaido. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was a nice little moment of Kaido behind the screen, behind the glass, just watching the chaos. Smiling. And there's a reflection of fire underneath his face. And like that's on purpose, right? And it's just like, yeah, man, he knows exactly how to incite this Gorman aggression. And again, just to connect it back to Bail Organa, winners write history. Yeah, that's just what it is. You know, that's always been like that. And again, it cuts close to home. It does make sense. I'm actually listening. The American Revolution for me is a very interesting topic between listening to Hamilton and reading little things. I found an audiobook, sidebar, of this guy who's giving both sides perspective based on historical documentation. And it opens with like King George's he was his own secretary and would write things, but he time stamped it. So he would have the date and the time he wrote it and when he ended the letter. So he has his all personality built out of like King George. And he's just like, was a happy-go-lucky dude going into the Navy trying to check things out. But he also had a temper, which caused many bad things to happen for, you know, the British Empire. But anyway, very interesting stuff. So all of this is like, man, this is hitting the endorphins in my brain all day, for sure, for sure. Thank you for sharing that, Mike. Good stuff, man. Love that.
Thank you.
James, anything else?
Yeah, how about the bellhop?
How about the bellhop? Agreed.
He was second only to the staff at the Plaza Hotel. He might be my favorite bellhop in all of movies and television.
You mean
yeah,
French BJ Novak?
Yeah. I just love like the wink and nod that he gave Cassian. He knew exactly what he was doing there.
100%.
Rebellions are built on hope. There's that line that he's gonna
screamed. Also
say
screamed
Jin,
down.
and Jin's gonna say it, and boom. So it was really cool to just kind of see, probably not the origin of that line, but at least the first time technically that we would be hearing it in like the timeline of everything. But yeah, he was great. And then, you know, him throwing the bomb, just full on knowing like this is his last ditch effort, like all he could do. And, you know, just like a lot of the Gormans, they were just doing whatever they could do. But he was really great. I really enjoyed that little like wink and nod moment he had with Cassian.
Yeah, we didn't log it, just to let you know. We're good. Did you read the Gilroy's commentary on Rebellions Are Built on Hope?
No.
Okay, so the quick story is, you know, they're going over scripts, and I think his son was reading them or whatever. I don't know how old his son is. I don't know anything about that. And his son was like, you should, like, inject this line somewhere. And he's like, we're, like, 2 weeks out. Like, I can't just do that. And he's like, all the main characters, like, they're set in stone. He's like, but I maybe can give it to, like, an offshoot character. And I'm like, see, the dude, I don't think he gets Star Wars, Gilroy, at all. He gets, you know, historical accuracy of things and, you know, bestial moments. But he's willing to listen, you know, to things. And that is such a great line. Again, imprinted onto Andor. He's the messenger, right?
Right.
Imprinted onto Andor's brain. And again, watching Rogue One, just seeing that line again, and then again, you know, with Jin, is just a, you know, again, making those beautiful, beautiful threaded connections. The bellhop, Rebellions Are Built on Hope. Amazing. Really amazing. You have to carry your own bag, though, Dame, next time. Just to let you know. Okay.
And all of my reporting equipment, too, when I go undercover as a journalist.
The radio broadcast in episode 8 is some of the saddest things I've ever listened to. And, you know, is anybody listening? We are being murdered, you know, and again, it's coming down to who wins and who doesn't. And you hope, you know, the Empire built this fire. Is there no one that can help us? And I do, you know, obviously in the history of Star Wars, I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't really know anything about the Gorman Massacre, you know, in my lore. You know, it doesn't exist, you know, or whatever. But this, again, I was less interested in the episode 8 stuff and the tension and you know, bad things are gonna happen. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
But how do people resolve it? What's the next steps? How are we bridging the gap between this heinous activity and what happens next, where we get to, yeah, we're going to attack this battle station, right? So, like, how did we get there? And I think the radio broadcast is a big part of that. And somebody heard it. And I feel like there's a radio broadcast in a Star Wars movie. You know, well, there's a lot of radio broadcasts in Rogue One for sure.
Yeah.
You know, with the shield gate and things like that. But it's just so interesting. It's such old school technology, but the ability to hop into a spaceship and go wherever you want but you're limited in communication is crazy to me in the ironic sort of way.
Yep.
But it's like perfect because again, you're like, yeah, radios make sense to me, but I have no idea how hyperspace works.
Right.
But it appears hyperspace is more common than long range frequencies of radio, you know, and we could get into the starlight beacons of the High Republic if you wanted to, but I loved that. It was just so sad that radio broadcast.
Yeah.
And
Especially with a close up on Andor's face with just one eye welling up.
the tear. Like this was, yeah. And then, you know, you have the fallen heroes, Imperial martyrs. The price will pay. It literally ends. The price will pay for our own safety, which is alluding to the Death Star for sure, you know? And then I don't know if you caught at the end of episode 8 do you watch the credits? Sometimes I don't, sometimes I do. It's a, I guess, a churchy version of the Gorman National Anthem again, which I thought was really neat. So the aftermath is a top for me in episode 8 for sure.
We could call that the Greg Gormian chant.
Very nice.
If it doesn't have a name already.
It's good. I mean,
it was just stuck in my head because they were just going on and saying, and you know, that we are, what was the chant they were doing?
We are the Gore.
We are
the
Gore.
Galaxy is watching. They weren't watching shit. What are you talking about?
That was just stuck in my head for a couple minutes after the
GBS
episode.
was shut down by the Imperial Remnant. Did not get the funding. Anyway.
I just got that. Sorry.
You're welcome. Making sure everybody was on the same page here. Just in case you didn't understand that, I was talking about PBS. It's a public broadcasting station. It's so funny in such a 3-episode arc that has many big things. Like Mon's speech is like the bottom of the top.
Seriously,
like, it's fine, and like we know where she's gonna go, and there's connections to Rebels. I don't know if you caught any of that, but you know, I was a Rebels watcher. I was a Disney XD on fucking Saturday night at 9 p.m. I'm ready, and that was appointment TV for me. And there's certainly, why are you laughing? Anyway, there's certainly a part where Rebels has to cross paths with, you know, the story as we know. And, you know, the freighter they're talking about where Andor's sitting in the middle of it, they're talking about the Ghost. The Ghost is on its way. Mon's on the Ghost. Mon has her, you know, all that good stuff. And the Gilroys talked about retconning that speech and rewriting it. But they opted not to. I don't know the story on opting not to, but all the Rebel stands were all over this. And I love Rebels, but like it's a cartoon. It's an animation.
Right.
It probably falls below the comics if you think about it. I don't know. But they can retcon whatever they want when it comes to shows. They've done it before and they'll do it again. But to their credit, they gave space in both areas. They allowed Mon to do her little speechy speech, which was really good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love the, you know, you almost, they're trying to shut down the feed and he can't get it done. What do you mean you changed the locks? Yeah, we just patched that loophole, and like you can tell they are clearly part of Luthen's crowd, right?
Oh yeah,
you know, which is great. And you know, she does her thing, and you know, she says what she has to say, and that wasn't even the most tense part of the episode. Like we knew it was happening, we knew it was going to happen, and but you know, it's the bottom of the top is Mon's actual speech, but everything. You know, there was a vocab word called perfidy. Did you catch that word during the Senate? Perfidy, P-E-R-F-I-D-Y.
did not notice that word.
I caught that word, and that means the untrustworthiness. And I think they were talking about the Gormans. The Gormans' perfidy. And I was like, whoa, settle down, Tony. All right, use the words that we understand and hear. That's been good. But yeah, the monster, Emperor Palpatine. You know, the complete treachery right there.
The fact that it was great timing, and when right after she said the monster that screams aloud is Emperor Palpatine, and then the feed cut.
Yeah.
I think that was great timing. But yeah, then leading
Good
into
cinema.
Good cinema, as you would say. Yeah. Then leading into, you know, the GoldenEye escape essentially.
Yeah.
Which was
which again,
Erskine.
they're walking, but it might as well be running at full speed.
Mm-hmm.
Erskine, unsung hero.
We predicted this, right?
Rebel spy.
Yeah, was he episodes 1 through 3? 4, 5, 6, I forget what it was. It was the wedding. Yeah, no, he was introduced at the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we talked about Erskine's going to play a role. Now, I thought he was going to have more of a longer game. Apparently, Luthen recruited him during that wedding, which was very interesting. But he certainly, I mean, it was like Luthen's perfect cocktail of person. That was like, oh, so like you live on Chandrila, but you're kind of Gorman, but you're kind of Naboo. Pfft, this is nice. This is a sort of thing. I like when Mon was like, I'm not sure if I can do this, and Andor was like, ha! Welcome to the rebellion, dummy. Get in. Put your seatbelt on. We're doing this. This is great. This is really, it's good stuff for sure. Any more tops that you want to bring up as we go down?
I liked Cassian's Airbnb treehouse on Yavin.
Unbelievable.
So, like, once again, the set design is just incredible. I was reading today, they built that Gorman Plaza right behind Pinewood Studios. It's like a 500-foot set piece. Insane. But I really love the look of that. Like, they have places that look like that in like North Carolina, Airbnbs. And I guarantee you now, after this show, there's probably going to be an Andor themed one. And I would definitely go.
Sure.
It just looked great. Like, I just love the set design. And across this entire series, it's so well done.
We got soldiers sleeping on top of each other.
It did feel a little bit like Endor.
It's like when they come to Philadelphia to film in New York, they go to Yavin to film Endor.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, no, I loved this. I think we've always said this. When we stop noticing the set design has become top tier exceptional. Yeah. And the invisibleness of it all. Mm-hmm. Where we really... there's like one little weird snafu of CGI that I didn't enjoy, but other than that, super believable in every single case. People were a little upset on Twitter about how the Senate building, architecture, and that just wouldn't be cars. Shut up!
You know what the Senate building looks like? Have you ever seen the Oculus in New York?
No,
but I'm happy to look it up.
Look it up. Senate building kind of looks like the Oculus building. It's pretty cool building.
It kind of reminded me of what's that built like in Sydney, Australia?
Oh, the Opera House.
Yes, like that's. Yeah. I kind of got Opera House vibes from the building too.
Sean is currently looking up.
Okay, here we go. So we're going to do a little presentation real quick. We'll share the screen, and we're going to go here, and we're going to go here, and this is what we're talking about. Totally agree. This is definitely the Senate building.
Oh yeah.
In its spirit.
So where is that in New York?
Near the World Trade Memorial, I believe.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's called the Oculus because it looks like eyelashes.
Good. Good connection there. Very good. Very good. Very good.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I thought I think the mixing of real world sets, very believable in Star Wars land for me. Cinematic. Cinematic for sure. Cinematic for sure. Let me see. Looking down into my tops, I don't see anything that we haven't.
The KX units just
of course
destroying everything.
Oh, of course. However, the KX units fall to my bottoms. We'll get to that in a second. Let's see. You didn't seem to mind the promotions. God, Dedra, settle down. Holy moly.
She was going to say something else there.
Yeah, she was.
You didn't seem to mind the lights out 60 minutes.
Yeah, correct. 58. Who to trust? The truth is twisted, right? Luthen and Mon, like the whole idea that we're now at a point where, yeah, we've been hiding, but now we have to sort of come out in the open. But who are you going to trust? Listen, I'm telling you, Bale's team is compromised. You know how I know Bale's team is compromised? Lonnie fucking told me, okay? Lonnie. By the way, Lonnie's dead for sure. Next episode. He's done. You know, he's going to get got. There's no reason why he wouldn't get caught at this point.
Yeah.
I like that Luthen was like, "No Yavin for me." Like I missed that on first watch. Didn't catch it at all. I was looking at it on my phone probably. And Clea, again, just like all business, all the time, doing her thing. Best line she probably
like Clea
said.
with the hair up more than down.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Take away the K and who do you got? Exactly. I love the line of, I thought that's what we were fighting for, making our own decisions, brother. She's super philosophical in that way, and she just gets you thinking. And Andor's like, don't you do that, because Andor does it. Andor does it to Bix, talks his way around stuff and talks through it and blah 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 and all that good stuff. It all wraps around, and it's all wonderful part of the human interaction. Final call for your top moments, Dames. You got anything?
No, I think that was it for me.
All right, Mikey. Any final thoughts?
I'm good. Let's get to the bottoms.
Oh, let me tell you. Listen, as good as the show is, as you know, we don't leave any stoner sky unturned.
I don't want to be alone. I want Mama Marva.
I had to take my ladle and I had to scrape the bowl for the bottoms once again. But here are some of the things that annoyed me, only because I needed to find annoyances in the show. I felt like the U-Wing CGI approaching Gorman was a little funky looking. I felt like it was moving through space and time faster than the helicopter was, or the drone was moving. So for me, it was just like a little weird. That, again, very nitpicky. I don't really care, to be honest with you. It's 5 seconds on the screen, and then it goes away. This is such a Cyril move, but I hated it. Him adjusting the spiders in his stupid little apartment. What are you doing? But what was worse is when they knock on his door and he opens it and he goes, "Comms are down. We need everybody to report." I don't know if you noticed this. His tie is tucked into his pants. And I'm not into it, and I hate it. You're gonna have to rewind to go back to.
Maybe he was doing a science experiment. Coming from a science teacher, if you're wearing a tie, you don't want your tie getting in shit.
Listen, I get it, but I'm not into it.
No, that's fine.
Maybe he had to tuck it in to rearrange his spider collection.
He might have.
We're collectors. We have weird little ticks. Maybe that was his thing.
True. Well, he had spiders, not ticks. And the greenies, they're like getting ready, and like the one puts his little mask up, and it immediately goes and it falls back down. And I'm like, come on, like let's figure this out, Imperials. What are we doing?
Yeah.
But the biggest one, Mon dismissing Erskine is egregious. With how deep this is not my biggest one. This is the second to biggest one. It's an egregious and it's a naive point of view, and she's a little poopy head for doing that. She was not seeing the bigger picture, in my opinion. She felt betrayed because it was under her nose, and we get that, and that's fine. But you're about to make a speech that's going to get you in a lot of trouble, and you need allies. And you just got rid of your best ally who's been protecting you. Love the line. He's protected you in more ways than you'll know. And she's like, I don't care. Like, you probably would take a bullet for you, brother. Like, figure it out. So I felt that was a little...
Do you think she did that to possibly protect him in case things did go south after her speech?
Great question.
So he wasn't like an accessory to her anymore because he, quote unquote, was dismissed?
I mean, he's dismissed
that's
after all listening devices are gone, so it's not like she's setting that up. I don't know. Yeah. I think she was acting like a naive, not a senior senator moment for her.
Gotcha.
So I was that turned me off a little bit, Damon. I thought she was smarter than that. I thought she could see the bigger picture in Erskine literally working for Luthen. Like, of course, like she should have said, "Of course you're working for Luthen. Tell me what we need to do," and then go from there. So
that was weird to me because wasn't there one point in the episode where she's like, "I need a new driver," and then it's like, "Oh, he's an ISB spy."
Right, they're like talking about. Well, yes, that's what I'm talking about. It did not gel with their relationship. Like, I thought they were in on it. You know what I mean? They were both sort of in on it, but Erskine was more in on it, and you know, I don't know. And that's why it's a bottom, because there's too much confusion to it. But the biggest one, of course, the most egregious of the 3-episode arc, is the fact that these KX units are impervious to blasters unless it's a movie.
Yeah.
In which Jyn Erso snipers one, and it goes down immediately. What's going on? Like, for me, that's a huge continuity issue.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you want to call it, and this is how people were defending it, well, they were mass-produced KX units, so like the blaster shields on them. Shut up. It's bad.
Wear and tear over time.
Yeah, maybe in a year. I don't know. However, the crowd control of the KX units is the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life.
They were like Terminators.
Oh my god. That's why it
through
annoyed me.
Enza. Just through Enza.
Enza's dead
nothing.
via brute force attack, brute force landing. She
the
died from
Enza of
fall
Enza.
damage. Fall damage.
That was pretty rough, man. She was like, I forget who, but was it just someone random that bumped into her?
Yeah, she definitely got hit by a rando. And again, part of the chaos of the plaza is like these guys are shooting everybody, and then they released the droids. And now you have, it's like the Jaws moment where you're trying to get away from the predator.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, this is wild.
Scary.
You're telling me that Andor's sniper capable rifle is deflecting off the KX units, but Jin's little blaster that she stole from the rebellion, can take it out in one shot?
Hollow points.
Maybe. And maybe there's different blaster types that they didn't mention. Maybe I have to read that in an encyclopedia somewhere. That's fine. I'll get the book. But at the same time, K2 sort of gets beat up on by stormtroopers in Rogue One. And it does take a while for him to kind of like get blown up. So I'm curious about why Jyn, maybe she just got lucky. I don't know. But for me, that's an egregious continuity thing. And you need to hear about it. Mikey, I'm waiting for you. I want to hear your list.
I don't have many.
Oh,
actually. The one thing I thought was the like I said, not more of annoyance, more like why they have I didn't want any force sensitivity.
Fair.
The force healer. Another one was the Senate building was locked down.
Yeah.
Somehow they escaped with like no problem at all.
Parking lot.
Yeah, but like that was locked down. Like everywhere. Yeah. Like no, that means 0 exits.
It was definitely
they're just strolling through and nobody's outside that would recognize after this speech was broadcast to the entire galaxy.
You would think that she would have been stopped by just like common people like, wow, what a great, and she's like, I can't talk right now.
Just like, here, put on this brown jacket. No one will notice your fire red hair.
I don't know if you know this, but putting on a trench coat is a classic sneak technique perfected by Kenobi. In the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember that.
I agree with you. The map and like the spatialness of the Senate building, I could not understand.
Mm-mm.
You had like the gateways of it reminded me of the Ministry of Magic when they were coming through and checking in, like when the government was overtaken. But when they locked it down, but they forgot the back door was open. You're right.
Yeah.
Kind of egregious. Agreed.
The other one was somebody needs to teach Bail Organa how to curse and like talk shit.
Totally agree.
Tear the shit out of this place. What?
Don't you agree? This is not my thought. That he should have said Criff. Wouldn't that have been more appropriate?
Would have been more appropriate.
Or you should have said, give them hell. Like sounds like give them something. But I agree. That was
made it sound like a colonoscopy.
That was their gotcha moment that didn't quite
didn't
quite hit. Agreed.
tear the shit out of this place. What?
It doesn't even make sense. Not cinematic. That's the opposite of good writing. That's bad writing.
It was like someone who just figured out what curse words are,
Yeah.
and they're like, "I'm gonna say something really provocative right now."
Jimmy Smits would have never said that. He would have said something else. That was all Benjamin Bratt. He just wanted people to remember him. Thank you. Good, Mike. More.
It should have been something. Make them remember the day. Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
What's in your wallet? I don't know.
Right.
Something.
Yeah, it was not a good line. Not a good line for sure.
All right, that's it for me. Just
Thank you.
two.
Dames, what you got in your bottom land?
Yeah, I mean, I really only had one, and it was just I don't know why they keep making Will like this like womanizer. It doesn't really serve the point of anything, minus him waking up late and Casting being like, you gotta hurry. Like, I just don't understand it, but good for him. But he also has to get his head out the gutter because, you know, things are getting real now. So just didn't seem like a necessary thing unless it somehow leads to like his downfall in the next three. And that just them building towards that. But yeah, just thought it was goofy. Like he's there for like 5 minutes and already, you know, getting the googly eyes and then wakes up next to her the next day. It's just like, dude, chill out for a little bit.
I'd like to believe that that's not his first time on Gorman, and he probably developed something with her. But to your point, why are we rehashing this love storyline? You know, and again, I guess it's more of the human connection. Like, of course, they'll find people and, you know, they'll make their whatever. But
there's a possibility you could die at any second with the missions. Get it in.
Yeah.
This could be our last night. All right, let's do it.
It's true. I mean, again, part of that whole wartime aspect of never knowing if you're going to wake up and see the sunrise the next day. What's that line from Luthen? He said, "I'm fighting for a sunrise I'll never see," or something like that, which is super interesting. So, I don't have any more bottoms.
I'm good.
Okay, we're gonna move on. So, so now that we've showed you the good stuff, we've talked about the bad stuff, and we've got that in between stuff we call the scraps.
I wake up every day to an equation I wrote 15 years ago from which there's only one conclusion. I'm damned for what I do.
Now, I know Dame lazied out on us and didn't really watch the episodes again. So I'm curious to see what little Easter eggs he found in these episodes. So, Dame, we'll throw it to you. Let's see if we match up.
So I got the two. Obviously, the rebellions are built on Hope Line that we talked about earlier. And then also, Luthen didn't wear his like wig when he was talking to Mon, and I think that was the first, like, pretty much any other time he's talking to bigwigs and you know, people of power, and he's kind of politicking. I'm pretty sure he had that on.
Wow.
But I have to
require some thought.
That just stuck out to me right away. I was like, oh, where's his hair? Yes. And then, of course, the cameo. I can't think of his name, but he was in Rogue One. And
Melchi.
Yes.
Love that. Another screaming moment for me in the basement, for sure.
And he's just like, hey.
Yeah. I believe that belongs to me. I love that.
It's crazy. No one else survived, just the two of them. Out of how many people that jumped?
That is super interesting that they would have mentioned that they are the survivors of Narkina 5. And, you know, a lot of survivors created the Rebel Alliance, for sure. That's good stuff. Okay, Dames, good stuff. Thank you. Appreciate that. That's what you get for not rewatching, you son of a gun. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Mikey.
Captain Andor. We get his title.
Captain Andor. That's when does that happen? That's happened at the end, right?
Yeah, that when he gets back from Gorman, he's like, Captain Andor, you're needed. When they're bringing to life the KX unit.
Right. Post Bix. FaceTime, not hologram, but FaceTime video.
sniper
He's the first
blast.
person in Apple history to leave a FaceTime voice message.
Oh, just staring straight into the camera and just
man.
ripping hearts out.
Loved that edit too, by the way. Great editing for that scene.
Love a good gun assembly montage, especially like a sniper blaster.
As quickly as he built it, he had to disassemble it.
The mention of the lab at Edu.
Yep. Dr. Gaz says that, and he goes, I don't know the science, but bad luck for Gorman.
Yeah. And that's where Galen was working
Correct.
on what's his face? The Death Star stuff.
That's right, the Death Star stuff. That's when they were synthesizing the Kyber crystal.
Yeah.
So he's there as of right now, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
100%.
Just something I wanted to add from Marissa with episode 8. She said this was reminding me of Les Mis.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'd agree with that.
Yeah. I was like, well done. And this one's a fun. So, one of my favorite scenes in the original Willy Wonka is when the candy store dude is singing Candyman, and he lifts up
Does
the
he hit the
little
girl?
like, and he smashes the girl in the chin. When Cyril was walking through the crowd, there was one moment where someone went like, ah, and elbowed him right in the face.
No way. Oh,
and
man.
he just keeps going through it. And it was fantastic.
I missed that. We will have to screen capture that. That's awesome. I love that. Can I wrap back to Edu for just a moment?
You may.
There's a little theory out there. Again, as part of my show notes and prep, I like to pull from thoughts on X and all that good stuff. And so they're saying that the calcite, right, cannot be synthesized, right? You need it. What if, and again, not my thought, but read the theory on the interwebs, Galen Erso probably lied and said, yeah, we can't synthesize this, so you're going to have to get it from the planet in an event to delay the project even more, knowing full well that it will probably cause death. But really, it's him ensuring that Project Stardust does not get off as fast as it needs to get off. That's, and again, there's no proof here nor there, but the mention of Edu in this, and I don't understand the science behind it, I buried myself in my work, and I did the one thing that people didn't think I would do. I lied. And that's a direct line from Rogue One. So I'd like to think that, unfortunately, Galen Erso caused the Gorman massacre, but it also caused the Rebel Alliance to align. So there's a lot of little machinations that go into it. So
You
that's
got to
good stuff.
crack a few eggs to make an omelet.
That is very
you
true.
do.
That is very true. Love the okay, so right at the beginning, right, Yavin, so I got my magnifying glass out and I'm like, let's see what we gotta see. And you see, like in the opening shots, blue, red, and gold squadron outfits running across the, getting into the prepped into what they're doing, checking out their dials on their X-Wings. I like the line of things are getting really organized around here. I think that was Bix, or something like that, or maybe Andor. Partagaz, the insurgents, they have weapons now, and he goes, "We're counting on it. Yeah, we need them. We actually need them to fire back. We need the story of them firing back for sure." What's his face? Draven. Is that like the best hero entrance we've seen for a character that we spent under 40 seconds with?
That was pretty fantastic.
You need to bring this ship back because we're about to install it with hypercoms. I don't know what hypercoms are, but I can assume that it is communication via hyperspace. And there are several times in Rogue One where Andor will communicate with the Rebel fleet or Alliance in Yavin through hyperspace. leaving Jeddah on their way to Edu is the detail that I would like to bring up. Of course, we have Stone and Sky, right? Ferrex bringing back that lovely memory. And then the most egregious people at the bar on their smartphones, not talking to anybody, but just kind of chilling out and looking at their tablets, checking out their MLB rosters. There's a mention of the Alderaan group, and their shuttle was canceled. Thought that was neato cool. That was all in episode 7. Ties flying overhead, just adding to the tension of the episode, the screaming. I am convinced that Cyril and K2 make eye contact. And you can't tell me it wasn't him.
It had to be K2.
100%.
I feel like I saw one tweet that it like the KX unit got destroyed, and the one that looked at Cyril, they had like the same blaster marks, like right here in this general area.
Yeah.
So
in a way, I wish there was like a defining image of K2. I thought it was the yellow, and then I realized they all had the yellow on them. Oh well. Right before Cyril, Superman punches Andor. Andor's ready to take that shot. And like in any game, he clicks L3 to breathe. And I just thought that was a pretty cool sniper technique because, again, making these long connections to Rogue One, you know, Andor sent to kill Galen Erso via sniper in the rain. So, like, he's like Captain Assassin. You know, like, that's his job. And that's a pretty interesting kind of call forward, not call back. We've talked about that. It's my people today and yours tomorrow, says Oren. Oren, who is the same Oren who's on the Alliance Council when they're talking about whether or not they're sending a team to Scarif. I put that together while watching Rogue One. And the other older lady, the other senior senator who gives way to Bail, who gives way to Mon, is also all part of the Rebel Alliance. Kind of neat, kind of interesting. If you are brave enough to stay, I gotta be brave enough to go. Right? Great line by Mon. That's like the turning point for Mon to make that happen.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he says next year in Yavin. I thought that was cool. We need to submit a list of fallen Imperial patriots. Right? I'm looking for the list of January 6 patriots on the wall.
Yeah.
You know, I'm waiting for that list to go out. The savagery of the Gorman attacks, of course. Of course, Lonnie is dead, 100%. And Cloris is dead. I don't know if you know this, but
he is so dumb.
I don't think he's making it to episodes 10, 11, and 12.
And just that whole, like, he's like that squinting, confused face for the entire, you're just like, no, she's been in there all night.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's like not even close. Cloris, you're an idiot, buddy. Bix, with the full intention of giving him a sleeping pill, Nerian Leaf, a tea, I'm sure, because she knew that she was gone.
Yeah.
And she needed no interruption and all that good stuff. And, of course, Alan Tudyk, right, makes his appearance at the end, and we get the beginnings of Animal House, Part 2, K2, and Andor. Don't you dare slander him as we approach episodes 10 through 12. Any other scrappy scraps you can think of?
I did notice when they're reanimating K2, it's very like Frankenstein-esque.
It's very loud.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
And like his body's it was just like Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, it was cool.
Monster, you know, like they're not really sure. And then
you're gonna need these glasses. I'll take a weapon. So give me the weapon, you science nerd.
I thought that was pretty cool. And then
I agree.
One other thing too that I did notice with the TIE fighters flying over Gorman, it was almost like, so the first time it was one TIE fighter, the second time it was two.
Yeah.
So it was almost like Act 1, Act 2, like of the Gorman massacre.
Yeah, and I also think it's orchestrated. I think they're sending them across as a fear tactic. You know, everything was orchestrated from the time Kaido got there, and they knew what they wanted to do to produce the result, and they were, you know, are you going to be a problem? And Kaido's like, I know you're going to die. It doesn't even matter. Like, you just get these guys to go out there and be bait, fodder, as they would say. So, with just one arc left, I wonder what happens next. Let's pop in to our ISB analysis.
Do you really think the rebels care about the lines we draw on maps? Systems either change or die.
Where the fuck is Perrin? What's going on with Perrin at this time? He's watching TV, and he's like, oh, there's my wife. What is she saying? What is happening? I need to see a Perrin appearance in the next 3 episodes.
They made us like him at the wedding, and then he disappeared.
Where is he? I need to know.
You would think he would have been at the Senate investiture, too.
That's what I'm saying. Why wouldn't he be there? Like, oh, I heard you're going to make a speech. What's it about? And she's like, nothing.
Oh, nothing. Just, you know, about Gore. About Gorman. Typical stuff.
That was really it, other than Sam, loser boy crying French Sam.
2 M's, like Tim.
Right, of course. Saving Cass to make up for Cinta? Probably not. But is he redeemed? Probably not. But it was nice.
He gave us the gift of K2, so I mean, that's
indirectly.
indirectly.
It seems awfully convenient to me.
Oh yeah,
that's
for
okay.
sure. They're like, yeah, the people are gonna hate this guy. Let's see if we can do something cool with him. So they'll be like, oh, he's not that terrible.
Yeah. That's all I have. Like, we know, I mean, I hope we get, like, did you hear about this episode they cut about K2 and the KX units?
No.
I didn't hear about it, yeah.
You did, yeah. So it was going to be like a horror-style hunting at night with the KX units on the Gorman Rebels. And that's how they were going to introduce them, but they just didn't have the time to insert that into the story, but boy howdy. That would have been a thrill.
Just those glowing eyes in pitch black.
I'd appreciate if you would point that away from my face, guy. It's great. I love everything about it. His personality is awesome. All right, so we're going to be a year in the future, so that means 1 BBY, right?
Mm-hmm.
How close do we get to Rogue One? Let's think about it. Rogue One opens with Galen in the past, and Krennic. The work has stalled, right? And he pulls him back into, and Jin is 9, I don't know, 10.
Mm-hmm.
Then she's 19, later in life or something like that. Where does the story open? Is it I wonder if the final, I don't know if the final scene will be the final scene, but I would imagine the final scene will have something like, we need to extract a prisoner from Wobani. And that's where Jin is being held as Lyanna Halleck. Again, I watched Rogue One, so I could bring up all these nice little details to you guys. So you know that I'm working hard here.
You are.
Thank you. Where
I purposefully almost blocked Rogue One out of my mind because I want to go in because who was it? Diego Luna said you're going to look at Rogue One completely different after watching it. So I got the MIB bloop for Rogue One for me, and I'm just I want to go into it with a fresh mind.
Yeah, and I respect that. I want to make the connections as the show is going.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that kind of stuff, and I'm just so curious. It's where do you go? Bail will be in Yavin. That's easy. You can do the easy ones.
Yeah.
Mon will have a new haircut, and it's going to look awful. She's going to be wearing a pillowcase with some chains. That'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Do we get a ghost sighting?
Probably.
I would love it.
Would love it.
I mean, with the
I
budget,
mean, they have
of the
Zeb,
show,
right? They already have
can
some
afford
assets
that.
for Zeb.
Yep. I would love seeing Zeb. I thought about that immediately once I was watching Mon's speech because it's from Rebels, so it would be cool. I mean, with the budget of the show, they could throw that in there, but I feel like it might just be too distracting.
Could be.
People might just be like, "Oh, Rebels, Rebels," instead of focusing on Andor and that story. So
Do we get Chopper
that would be cool.
and Hera? Because she's around, isn't she?
General Syndulla, right? She should be a general by that time, I think, or maybe she's captain. I don't know. Do we have a final mission? Like how do we make the jump from the Rebel Alliance is being formed? Like, are they still trying to recruit at this point, or do they have their core? You know, is this the arc where the Empire strikes back a little bit? You know, and we have episode 10 is like a nasty Empire forward, and then they have to like restructure, and maybe they discover them on Yavin. Right? Like, when do they discover that they're on Yavin? Oh, I guess they tracked them back to Yavin or something like that. I forget the sequence of events, but it's so funny because like we go through all these years of stuff, and then all the major things happens within just a few days of each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a super interesting point. Like, even in A New Hope, it's like you feel like you're on Tatooine for a week with Luke and the droids, and then from Mos Eisley to the medal ceremony, it's got to be 3 days.
Yeah.
3 days tops or something like that in terms of hours. But like that's how quickly it can happen and escalate and stuff like that. That's what makes it exciting and cinematic. What thoughts do you have, boys?
Do we get some closure on the sister that was brought up in the first episode of Andor and never mentioned ever again?
Do we think it's Clea?
Ooh.
Also read that, not my thought, but does Luthen know it's Clea? Does Clea know it's Clea?
They got to pay it off.
Oh man, do they
somehow,
pay it off?
even if it's, I mean, I hope it's not, it hasn't been that big of a
Does
point
Bix
in
find the
story,
sister
but
and tells her all about him posthumously, right?
maybe
Super
they
curious.
reunite and she sends him to take care of B2.
I don't know.
I just need some B2. I need some closure for B2.
That's true. We do need some closure there.
I feel like there's going to be a Dedra and Luthen showdown.
Oh, well, they have to. That would be the Axis showdown, right?
Yeah. Feel like Cyril is you're gonna get like some sort of award ceremony, Cyril Imperial Martyr thing.
Mm.
Wow.
He's gonna get like a Dwayne Wade bust given to his mom.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
pretty much. On top of a spider.
This is something that crossed my mind, and it's probably super far-fetched. Do you think there's a chance like Dedra could be pregnant?
Oh man.
And if so, how would they even wrap that up? Because
Well,
maybe
he didn't
Cyril
wrap
didn't
it up.
that up.
Wow.
I just thought, I don't know why that popped in my head. I don't know if it,
And it's Poe Dameron. No, that doesn't make sense. Does it make sense? No, it doesn't. I know that for a fact.
That would not make sense. There was I saw one thing that was like Bix is pregnant and the son is Poe Dameron. I'm like, no, that's not happening at all.
Somebody wrote, I saw something too where someone wrote, oh yeah, Dedra could possibly be pregnant with Rey Skywalker. I'm like, did you watch? Like, I'm like, what?
Nice. I don't subscribe to that, but that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely
that's
not.
That's
But
fine.
just something like that. I mean, the show's not afraid to go into like those adult kind of things and like possibly having a kid and then getting rid of it, like pawning it off to somebody else or whatever.
There's
it may
no
be.
indication. There's no indication, but she's a good hider. She's a hider of.
That's the other thing too. And plus, I mean, we are jumping ahead a year, so like, who knows? If they were even together on Gorman doing that, like, what the timeline of that would look like.
Yeah.
But
Well, we
you know,
know
it's
it happened
possible.
2 years ago,
Yeah,
Right.
and
but
she
did
did
it
not have a baby.
continue
Right.
happening? You
Or
know?
is
Did it
that
continue?
child at Imperial Kinder,
Mm.
where she grew up?
With Gorman citizenship? Ooh, goosh. Damn, I know you only watch this one time, but that's a really interesting theory you've got going on right here. My gosh.
I'm just reaching for like all these plausible things because like Bix, there were so many characters where like, how are they going? I just kept thinking, how are they going to wrap up these stories for everyone? Like Luthen, I'm really interested to find out. Like, he's most likely going to get killed, but how and by who?
I think he's going to be alive.
You think he'll be alive?
To a point. Because he's like, I'm not going to be on Yavin, so like he already established that. Like it's
Right.
not like he's going to get killed and he's not going to be on Yavin. He's just like, I'm just going to fade. But I don't think he's going to fade at all. I think he wants to fight it out. So I'm sure he'll be dead. But
I just got to see what happens with B2 as well. It's just very heartbreaking. He's just chilling there, waiting for someone, waiting for Cassian.
And obviously
K2.
Dengar.
Of course.
Dude, if Dengar ever shows up in anything else Star Wars, it's gonna be like the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. I'm gonna go to Broad Street and City Hall and climb on top of the McCormick and Schmitz and hang out.
That's awesome.
Do we get any cameos? For some reason, I'm feeling a Palpatine cameo.
I wouldn't mind a hologram Palpatine at all. It's just because everybody.
Just because they've mentioned Emperor, they've mentioned Emperor a lot. They finally threw out his name last episode. I would like similar to Maul in Solo.
In Solo?
Yeah,
Tarkin?
I wouldn't mind. Yeah, Tarkin wouldn't be a bad one.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the Rogue because like even in Rogue One, Palpatine not present.
Right.
Yeah.
But our big ones, our Tarkins, our Vader were present. Maybe.
I don't want a Vader one. I think that would tarnish it.
Yeah. Be
Palpatine
a
would
little
make
cheap.
more sense.
Yeah. Even a broadcast from the Emperor that's like, don't listen to a word they're saying or something like that. And,
Something Gorman, something complete.
I was like the attempt on my life has left me scarred. Jedi. Man, I'm so excited for tomorrow. It's not that far away.
No, it's not.
We're getting there, and
We are 22 hours away.
100%. 100%. Any other predictions or thoughts or questions, thought-provoking things that we want to talk about as we wrap the show?
Maybe Bix goes Rogue One and tries to go Rogue, one, and then goes back to Coruscant. Well, I'm assuming Dedra would be at Coruscant at that point because Gorman's done, and Bix goes after Dedra.
Wow.
Because I don't think he yes, Bix left, but I don't think I feel like she's going to be in these 3 episodes somewhere.
Okay. Do
For
we
sure.
think Bix? Okay, I just want to let everyone know that this
Is
is
pregnant with Poe Dameron.
this has everything to do with what was the question that kept getting asked?
Who are you?
Okay. There is a particular scene at the end of Rise of Skywalker on Tatooine. She's an old lady. Who are you?
Oh man.
Could you imagine? How do you incite the Andor crowd in a worse way than canonizing Bix as the old lady at the end of Rise of Skywalker when she claims the name of Skywalker to end this series?
Ugh.
That's amazing. Well, she Would the age make sense? I mean, if she's in the sun that long, she could probably just look like leather, like that
Does
lady
the
did.
age make sense? Well, it's only 20 years.
So she just spent a lot of time in the sun.
Oh no, Bix would still look great.
It's because she's using that Narian leaf. All right. Let's do a vibe check and let's get on out of here, boys. It's a little somber to have to wrap a show after only 4 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And it's been such a ride, and so many good, like tomorrow I'm gonna have to get like a couple Celsiuses, you know what I mean? We're gonna have to kind of get comfy, and we're riding this out into the sunset. And I'm hoping, for 350s would be nice. Obviously, the final episode will, if they're trying to do a theatrical release into Rogue One, do we go 70?
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, does it get into an hour 10, an hour 15 of content? And maybe we get a little 37-minute guy for episode 10, and it's like, the result of the Imperial, coming after the Rebel Alliance, and there's strikes and there's death. And then we have the, episode 11, and then the final finale as we gear up into, that connection point. I'm so excited to see how it all comes together. I can't wait for tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm still on Andor is probably the fourth best, and it might be creeping up into like 3 and 2 for me, Star Wars media that has been put out there.
Wow.
Like Empire Strikes Back, still number 1 for me. There
Mhm.
there would be no argument for that. But like all the other shows don't even come close to it. Not like as good as first 2 seasons of Mandalorian was. It's still not even close to what Andor is.
I agree.
And I always fear what a lot of shows always have it where it's like the show before the finale is always the best one.
Yeah.
Penultimate.
The penultimate is always the best one. And like, even though they're 3 episode sets, I still count it as like 1 episode.
For sure.
Yeah.
And my one fear
is we're going to have a little bit of a downer.
Yes.
Ooh. So your vibes are low.
My vibes are not low. My vibes are very high, but doubt
With
sometimes
dampeners.
creeps
There's
in.
dampeners on the vibes right now.
Yeah, there's that doubt
Okay.
of like don't fuck this up.
Yeah.
Don't fuck this up.
Yeah. There definitely is. Yeah, no, coming in for the landing is an important part of the show.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. That's a interesting. Very good. Very good. Dames, where do you fall on the fence, buddy?
Yes, I mean, obviously vibes are high, but just I was thinking about the penultimate thing today too, and it, like I think back to like Game of Thrones, and you would have like that penultimate episode, then the next one after to end
Battle
the
of
season
the
would just be, like,
Bastards.
yeah, like you'd have your Battle of the Bastards, and you just have like kind of just like exposition in the next episode because they used all the budget on the Battle of the Bastards and all that stuff. So like, I mean, with this show, obviously the budget's still there. I mean, the quality's been there week to week. It doesn't ever seem like there's a down episode where like they're trying to stay in one location for too long because they don't want to spend more money. But yeah, I kind of have that worry a little bit. But I mean, also just the track record of the show has been so good that I don't have any real concerns about tomorrow, the last 3 episodes being kind of a letdown. Maybe the first one is a little bit different because we're coming off of the high of last week, and I personally expect like hit the ground running. Maybe we need a little bit more time to just kind of breathe and go from there. But I do think they're going to stick the landing with it. And listen, like everyone that's involved in this project, it cares. And they're putting their best foot forward with it. It's not just like a mail it in, collect a paycheck thing. Like you could tell everything that's put into the show is put in with care. So I think it's going to stick the landing. I'm really excited for tomorrow. I'm also bummed that it's nice we didn't have to do 12 weeks, but 4 weeks and over is just kind of wild. And I wonder if it's going to change how they release shows going forward, if they think this is more successful, or if they want to stretch things out. But I also think, they wanted to get this out. So there's plenty of time to like build up a little bit of a hype train for next year's award season.
Yeah, super interesting. One of the most favorite things that I like to do with you fellas is chat and archive these conversations where seemingly into the future, as long as YouTube doesn't go down, we have archived conversation. We are essentially King George. We're creating content. We're writing down our little memoirs as we talk about the current stuff that's happening in life. And I'm happy to do it with everybody. That's our show. This is ESW. We've got Dames. We've got Mike. We're part of the Red 5 network. Kinda. We haven't posted in 2 years, but they didn't get rid of us, so we're still part of it. And until we're not, we are. We appreciate everybody for coming out to the live show. Special shout out to Nicole. If you're not following Red 5 Reading, hey, they read books and they get together on the Discord server and they talk about the different books. I believe they're working on Reign of Empire right now, which apparently is really good. And it talks about the political machinations of how the Imperial stuff has been happening. Probably going to pick that book up at some point because I'd like to read it. I have a little bit of a fascination, as you probably can tell, with the historical nature of how empires are created and governance. So it's a wonderful thing. So kudos to you, Nicole, for really organizing that and, really staying consistent with that project and allowing me to moderate that Discord server for you so we can get the right people in at the right times. Of course, thanks to Ro for coming out and chatting with us. I know it's probably past his bedtime. We shall see everybody next week. Please enjoy Andor episodes 10 through 12. And then if you're a baller, you'll watch Rogue One right after. We'll see you next week, everybody. Later.